Welcome to the match preview / tactics talk for Leicester versus Watford. We have got a guest on today. He's a Watford fan. He's on 90 Min and another channel that is WD18 fans as well. We'll bring him on just in a second, but make sure you get your comments in, get your views in for the game tomorrow. Let's go.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content, live fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live. Thanks to our sponsors, Everards, Barlow Blinds, Pukka Pies, Car Leasing, Distillers Direct, Hollogram, Take Me, Newby Co, and the Foxes, Arms and Rainbows. We are live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So yes, welcome to the tactics talk for Leicester versus Watford. We will bring in Jacob now. How are you doing, mate? Are you ready for the game tomorrow?
Yeah, mate, I'm buzzing. Jamie, thanks so much for having me on. Really, really big fan of your stuff as well. I think I was on a couple of years back for another preview, and I've been following you guys since. So keep up the great work. Absolutely love it. And also, it's great to see other fan channels doing really well. So yeah, pleasure to be on, mate, and look forward to having a chat about the game tomorrow.
Yeah, no worries. Obviously, I've seen you on 90 Min as well with a few of the boys from other fans and whatnot. But we'll get straight into it. Obviously, Watford. You're doing quite well the last few games, aren't you? Unbeaten in 5 games. Obviously, we're doing quite well as well. Obviously, we've only lost 2 the last couple of games. What's your kind of take on Watford's season so far? Because, like I say, you finished 11th last season, and you're 13th now. What's your kind of take on the season so far?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, this, because I think if you'd asked me at the last international break, I'd probably have a different outlook to the way I look at Watford now. It's been a summer of change, really, with Valérien Ismaël coming in. We've had a real big clear out of the squad, loads of players leaving and loads of players coming through, and we've had to balance the books a little bit. We haven't spent loads of money in this transfer window. Our top signing in the summer was Milita Rajovic, our number 9, who cost just over £1 million. So it hasn't been a really big summer for Watford in that sense, in terms of the price tags. But one thing that has happened is Ismaël's tried to bring in a new style of play, a new culture to the club, which, look, I had reservations at the start, because I think when you have the same owners, how much can you actually change? But I think slowly but surely what we're seeing is the culture changing, the morale changing, and actually are starting to get results, mate, because, as you say, you look at the last 6 games, we're unbeaten the last 6, 3 wins, 3 draws. Some of them haven't been pretty, but then you throw in a 5-0 against Rotherham, you throw in a good away win against Swansea. We beat Sheffield Wednesday at home, and they're probably games that you want to be winning. But the point is, beforehand, we were struggling to get over the line. So in answer to your question, mate, how I'm feeling at this moment in time, I'm feeling pretty positive about the direction we're going in. Now, the only thing I would say is Saturday, the one game coming back off the international break that we wouldn't want is Leicester away. Having said that, I was going to throw it over to you, mate. Like, is it a good time to play Leicester after the two defeats? Because I guess you can see it both ways, right?
Yeah, obviously we've had a brilliant season so far. I think if you asked us when we first got relegated what our aim was, it was to go straight back up. We obviously got rid of the manager. We brought a new manager in. We didn't know who he was at that point. He was just a backup to Pep. We just didn't know how he was going to play. Obviously, he was going to be the style of what Pep does, but we just didn't know with the team we had if we were capable of doing it. It looks like it's working a lot of the time, but the only problem is with Enzo and how we've been playing is there's only one style of football. Right. So when it doesn't work, like for me, the last 2 games haven't worked for us, because we can be patient on the ball, we can have all the possession, but if you're not getting the shots on target, there's no point. You just can't score goals, can you? So sure. It all depends on how teams come at us. If Watford come at us all guns blazing and attacking and putting us on pressure, I don't think we'll crack and handle it. But if Watford let us kind of be patient and try and break you down, then I don't think you've got any chance. But like I say, the last 2 games haven't been good for us. Both 1-0 losses to set pieces. And again, on any other day, we probably would have won them games. But it just shows that the style of play we've been playing doesn't always work, because we were 13 games unbeaten and then we've lost 2 in a row. So I think you'd be in a good place to try and come out us and beat us, because there's always a chance of that. And I'm not confident at all this coming into the game tomorrow. But that's what I mean. Like I say, we've won 13 games, but I'm not confident enough to say that we're going to beat you, because, like I say, you're in good form now. It just is what it is. Obviously, what's your kind of take on Leicester at the moment so far?
Yeah, it's just on that. You before I forget, it's really interesting how you say the way we play. It's going to decide a lot, because I think when we play, this is why I don't think we're going to come at you tomorrow, and this is why I'm a little bit worried by what you're saying there, because the one game we did that against a team who's you'd think will be in the top half of the table was Leeds away. And we played sort of on the front foot. We tried to play high press and we got completely torn apart and we lost 3-0. And since that game, we haven't played that way since. So we've been quite pragmatic. We've sat off the ball. We've kind of conceded possession away from home. But we then look to maybe win games 1-0 or keep it tight for as long as possible and then nick a goal like we did away at Swansea, or, even that Sheffield Wednesday game that I mentioned. So I'm really interested to see how Ishmael sets up, whether he reverts back to what he did at the start of the season. I don't think he will, which might play into Leicester's hands in that respect. But in terms of Leicester overall, the reason I asked, mate, was because I've been so impressed with what Mariska's done since he's come in. I think, as you say, I remember watching the first game of the season against Coventry, and you could tell that there was certain patterns of play that were developing, but he just needed a bit of time to get them going and for it to be a bit more fluid. And I think the one thing I would say about when I watch Leicester now, maybe not the last couple of games, but particularly in that run, as you say, with the 13 wins, is you could just see the football getting more and more fluid. I think there's no arguments to say Leicester have the best squad in the league. I don't think there's any debate about that, really. And I'd be shocked if you didn't go up through the automatic positions. I think it would have to take like a massive injury crisis, or you completely falling off a cliff. But I guess that's why tomorrow is quite important, right? Because if it's then 3 defeats on the bounce, I know someone in the comment section here just said about the international break coming at the perfect time. Do you then start to look at that a little bit differently? Do you think if it is then 3 defeats on the bounce? I mean, look, I'm very much jumping the gun here that we'll get a win, but
it's completely fire, because, like I say, I'm not confident at all going into tomorrow's game. Like I said before the 2 losses, I was completely confident we were going to beat both Leeds and then obviously the last loss to Middlesbrough. But they're both good form teams, and like you say, the international break helped us last time. I think we lost to Hull, and then obviously the international break came in and we were unbeaten since then. And obviously the last 2 losses. But I'm not sure, because obviously we have lost a lot of players to certain nations, obviously in the international. We've lost a lot of players due to that, but we have kept a few as well who are quite important to how we play. But we will go into that a bit more. Is there any players for you that you're worried about going into this game tomorrow? Is there any players that are on your side on the Watford team that have been really good informed players? Or
yeah. So I mean, from a sort of Leicester point of view, I think some of the business you've done has been quite smart, really. I think when you picked up Harry Winks, for me, that was the one that was a clever signing, because although it's maybe not the sexiest of names, like, he frees up all the other players to go forward. I think this is maybe from an outside point of view, but it feels like he's the one who could allow Dewsbury Hall to go a bit further forward. He doesn't have to really worry about the defensive side of it, and that allows Dewsbury Hall to play his best football. So I thought that was a clever signing for me. And then I guess when you come down from the Championship, as we did a couple of years back, the one thing that I was always keen about was just making sure we kept hold of the players that were good in the Premier League. So, as you say, I mentioned Dewsbury Hall there, but even someone like Iheanacho, Vestergaard, you look at the team on paper and you go, you know what, these players these are Premier League footballers. Even James Justin, I've always been a fan of him. I know he had that bad knee injury, but he seems like he's getting back to the way he was playing. So, look, I think in terms of a Watford point of view, the players to look out for, look, I think the midfield dynamics definitely the key battle for this, for sure. I think one player who's been really good for us actually has been Jake Livermore, and he's someone that I'm sure a lot of Leicester fans will know just from his time in the Premier League and being a bit of a Championship stalwart. He's been about.
He's Hull, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's one of those who's just kind of always been around those sort of teams. But I liken it to what I said about Winks in the sense that he can free up the rest of the players to go forward, and he's a leader in there. So he's someone definitely to look out for. In terms of maybe other players, I mentioned Rybich on number 9. He's one of those. You'll see him tomorrow. He won't be in the game, but he's clinical in front of goal. Like if you actually look at his stats, his link-up play is pretty poor. Like he doesn't really get involved in the game, but he's one of those strikers that's just a number 9. He'll be in the box at the right place, right time. And another player to probably look out for is Ken Semmer on the left-hand side, who is kind of is probably Watford fans' favourite player at the moment, just as a bloke off the pitch, but on it as well. He's been our most consistent performer over the last year and a half or so. So they're probably the 3 names to keep an eye out for. But yeah, no, I think, as I say, just going back to it, I think that midfield battle is going to be really key. I just saw someone in the comments saying, is
yes,
Winks not going to play?
Winks is out due to 5 bookings, which is the biggest, probably the biggest knock of the season so far. I think we missed out on Vestergaard a few games ago because he had 5 yellow cards and he's already at 8 now. So we're close to missing him again. But like I say, you name Winks, he is going to be out against tomorrow. Quite a big loss, but we've got players like say that can come in that have played in the Premier League last season, the likes of Chowdhury, Pratt. There is a few that have coming back from injury or have been playing that can fill that role, but just nowhere near to the level. Have you got many players now that obviously you've been in the Championship a few years now? Is there any players that you've kept from that Premier League side a few years ago, or have they all kind of disappeared now?
Do you know what? That's a really good question, mate. Like, I think you look at the team now, as I mentioned, there was a bit of a clear out in the summer, and Ishmael was very keen to keep players who wanted to be here. And that has been one of the big frustrations for Watford fans. I think last season, it was just a really inconsistent season with some good games in there, but more often than not, it was a win, draw, loss. It was like so inconsistent. You feel like even though maybe the results have started to pick up a little bit, we'd probably be more consistent with our performances, if that makes sense. Like, I think if you watch a Watford performance now, you kind of know what you're going to get. Whereas last season, no one could really predict how we were going to play. In terms of those players you mentioned it from the Premier League, probably the only couple is Kiembe in the middle, who kind of featured in our relegation season. Semmer was a part of the squad. But you look at the team now, mate, and it's a different Watford team. Different Watford team than the one we saw in the Premier League. And interestingly enough, even you look at the bench, Imran Loser, I don't know if Leicester fans have seen him before, but he's someone who's been dropped down to the bench. So look, I think when you look at, as I said, when you look at the Watford team now, it's a real shake-up from what it used to be. I just wanted to, before I forget, mate, Hamza Chowdhury, who was obviously at us last season.
Yes, sorry, yeah, I forgot about that.
No,
mate,
someone in the comments just said it, and it completely reminded me. How are Leicester fans looking at Chowdhury? Because there was a bit of talk that he might come back to us in the summer, but I think it was a $6 million fee that was being rumoured.
Yeah, so he wasn't really getting to the side last season because he was obviously not probably Premier League level. But now we're dropping down. We all kind of looked at him as like he's going to be one of the main players because of how dangerous and how much of a threat he can be into challenges. So I think he's not got into the team as much, but when some players like Winks or even a defender have been out due to injury or yellow cards, that's where he comes in and proves himself. And he obviously did probably cost us the game against Middlesbrough by giving the free kick away because he's that sort of player. But we do see him as he's a homegrown player. He is from the academy, so we do love him. But again, he only comes in when he's needed to, really. But I wouldn't be annoyed if he did leave to, like I say, a Watford or whatnot. But how did you? Obviously, quick question on that. Then, how did you kind of rate him when he was there, or did he not? Did he not play many games or?
He did, to be fair, he played quite a bit last season for us, and he split opinion, Chowdhury. I always felt his best games was when we didn't have a lot of control over the ball. So a lot of the time when we'd play like a Burnley last season or a Middlesbrough or those teams at the top of the league, he'd be really good because he'd break up players, you say, he'd intercept, he'd recover the ball well. And bizarrely, when there was like loads of space for him to run, he was great because I felt like when he didn't have to really think about his position as much, he felt like he's got an action, all action player, isn't he? Like he likes to get stuck in. When teams sat off us, he struggled for sure because he's not a player who's great in the build-up, I think, personally, from what I saw. Maybe that was the team he was playing in, but he wasn't great at building up play and playing through the thirds, whereas when it was a bit more of a counter-attacking game, he was good. He was really good for us because he'd get the tackles in, he'd get the interceptions, as I said. So he split opinion. I like Chowdhury. I thought he always left everything out there. I'd say that you can never doubt Chowdhury's effort ever. Like there was one moment, I remember I was at Sheffield United away last season, and he was easily one of the standout players because he was just absolutely everywhere, and he was completely. Although he was on loan at us, he was absolutely deflated when he went off, and he did. You can never fault Chowdhury's effort, but I think you've just got to play to his strengths, and I wouldn't maybe play him as a number 6. Personally, well, when he was at Watford, but does it seem like he's going to be that guy? He's going to have to fill in for Winks, do you think?
Because of obviously we brought Winks in for that main kind of playmaker role in a way, but the issue is we've not had a replacement. We've not got a good enough replacement for that role. So the only kind of player that would be able to fill in that role for me is either a Hamza Chowdhury or maybe dropping someone like Dennis Pratt into that role, into more of a playmaker, I guess, but there's just no one else that can fill that Winks role, unfortunately, and that's where maybe the January window will come in, and we might kind of get a replacement in there in case Winks either goes or we find someone else to play in that role as well. But what's your aim for this season before we do get into the predictions for tomorrow? What is your kind of do you think you'll get into the playoff spots? Do you think there's enough there for you? Because what we've known of Watford for the last few years, you've had 20,000 managers, and you've never really made it there. So what is your kind of take going into this end of the season?
Yeah, it's a great question, mate. I get asked this a lot from other fans because they're like, well, what is the aim for Watford, right? Like, you're now in the Championship. It's quite hard when teams like Leicester, etc., the bigger teams like Leeds, Southampton, they come down. Even Ipswich, you look at this season, they're playing at such a high level. What is the aim? And at the start of the season, if you ask me that question, genuinely, and I'm being completely honest here, it would be stick with the manager throughout a season, regardless of the results. Yeah. It would be to basically, as long as we're comfortable and we're not going to be going down, stick with the manager. I think I predicted us to finish 14th in the league, and see as many young players play for the club as possible. So, for example, today it got announced our right back Ryan Andrews has signed a 5-year deal with the club. Great, amazing. He's playing most weeks, and that's great for me. And I think a lot of Watford fans would agree in seeing that Watford's built on bringing the academy players through, and that for me was something that we wanted to see more this season. So I'm going to stick with that. Which is keep Ishmael to the end of the season. Genuinely. If you said to me, mate, Jamie, mid-table finish for Watford, I think I'd take that as long as I see we're going in the right direction. Whereas I think one thing Ishmael can be praised for so far is he's definitely changed the team spirit in the change room. For example, he basically drops players if they're late to team meetings. He isn't afraid to drop our best players onto the bench. He has a policy that if you're late to a meeting and you're starting, you're on the bench, and if you're on the bench, you're out the squad. So he's very much just kind of been like, look, it doesn't matter who you are. For example, Imran Louza, who was signed as one of our biggest signings in the Prem, barely played for us in the last 6 games. So I've been really impressed with how Ishmael's tried to implement that. Ultimately, I know a lot of Leicester fans will be thinking, well, he'll be gone next week, or, And look, I have to admit, I wouldn't be... I don't think you can ever be surprised with Watford now. But one thing I would say is, and from what we're hearing, it looks like he signed a new contract, of course, as well, Ishmael. So, to answer your question, keep the manager for a season, a mid-table finish, see as many young players come through and improve, and genuinely, mate, just enjoy watching the club, because last season was a real drag. It was really tough. I think you can. It's bad enough in the Premier League when you're seeing performances like that, but let alone in the Championship when you see some of the teams in this league, mate, and you're like, wow, there's some bad teams. So, yeah, that's it for me. In answer to your question, I know that was a long-winded answer, but
no, it's fine. Like I say, it is what it is. You've been in the Championship for a few years now, so I didn't know what your kind of expectations would be going into the end of the season. But then finally, we'll ask, what is your score prediction for tomorrow? I don't know if you're going to be going or what, but
do you know what? I can't make it tomorrow, but I was gutted. To be fair, I think the King Power is one of the stadiums I've been to the most. You know, so the last time I was there was that game in the snow. Do you remember when?
4-0.
Mate, honestly,
it was sunny at the start and just absolutely awful at the end. Yeah.
That one, mate, we haven't got a great record there at your guys' place, to be honest with you. And I think despite the 2 defeats for Leicester going into the international break, I think in answer to your question, it came at a good time. So I'm going to predict a Leicester win. I think we'll score, but I'm going to go with a 2-1 Leicester win. If I'm honest, just because of the quality of your squads. But I do think we'll score, and I do think we'll try and make it as difficult as possible. And it goes back to what we said at the start, mate. I'm absolutely fascinated to see how Ishmael sets us up, because from what you're saying, it seems like if we're playing on the front foot, we might have a chance. But that's bold to do that away from home at Leicester.
Yeah, like I say, most games this season that we've won, every single team has basically sat back, other than Hull, and we lost to them. So that's how much it shows that if a team comes on to us, we can't hack it, and you just get chance after chances, and we will still create chances by having all the possession. But if it's not clinical enough, we won't be scoring. So, in my opinion, it's hard because I want to see us win tomorrow. Because of the 2 losses and because you've just beaten Rotherham 5-0, it's like you're on a massive form run of 6 games now. So there's every chance that we both can win the game. There's no chance that, I'd say a lot of Leicester fans are always like, Watford's going to be an easy game and whatnot, but it just isn't. So I'm going to predict to win, but it's going to be close. I'm going to go for a 2-1 as well. But
2-1, nice. Well, not nice for me, but
it's just difficult because again, I could see Watford doing it, and again, three losses on the bounce. It just doesn't look great for anyone coming to play us. Like I said, we've got West Brom after that. We've got Sheffield Wednesday, which surely, if you lose to Watford, you've got to be beating the worst team in the league. So hopefully that comes in as well.
Yeah, I guess the one thing to say about our last 6 games as well, we do have to caveat it with Rotherham were terrible and they sacked their manager after. Sheffield Wednesday had a new manager, but if we're honest, as you say, they're one of the worst teams in the league. So there is positives for us from the last 6 games, but I think what a lot of Watford fans are saying, and I'm sure a lot of people agree with me on this, is the next run of games will really it's quite a season-defining run for us. To give you a bit of just quickly, obviously Leicester away tomorrow, then we've got Norwich at home, Hull away, Southampton, Ipswich, Preston, Blackburn. So you look at that run and you think you've got like 5 in the top 10. Yeah, exactly. So the next run of games. So if you said to me now, mate, take a point, mate, I'll snap your hand off for a point. Neil, give me a 0-0 every day of the week.
Yes, well, appreciate you coming on, Jacob. Where can people find you if they want to check out for more Watford content?
Oh, mate, Jamie, what a pleasure. Thanks for having me on, mate. So, I run with Sam and Charlie, who do the channel with me at WD18, which is a Watford fan channel. We do videos, podcasts, similar to what you guys do. So, yeah, if you wouldn't mind checking, that'd be great. And always good to have some opposition fan comments on the videos as well. So, yeah, thanks so much for having me on, mate. Top man.
No worries, mate. And make sure to check out 90 Min if you want to see a Declan Rice jump as well.
But I do it
I had to add it in, mate. Appreciate you coming on, mate. And we'll catch you on the next show. See you in a bit.
Okay, nice one.
And there you go, guys. That is the Leicester versus Watford Tactics Talk preview for tomorrow's game. Make sure to get your comments in, get your views in, and we'll catch you all on the next show. See you in a bit, guys. Cheers.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, Everards, Barlow Blinds, Pukka Pies, Car Leasing, Distillers Direct, Hollogram, Take Me, Newby Co, The Fox's Arms and Rainbows. Run by the fans, for the fans. Follow us on socials at Leicester Fan TV and visit LeicesterFanTV.com for all the latest news, views and videos.